Hello, and welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD. I'm Renee Allen, your host of this podcast, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. For some reason today, ever since I got up here to sit down and start this podcast, I've kind of got the giggles. Everything that I've done that's kind of bumbly and not quite working like it should, it is just making me laugh. So hopefully I can contain myself because when you try not to laugh where you're not supposed to laugh, it is not always successful. But we'll see how I do. So, what I'd like to talk to you about today, well, there's probably a few things, but one of them is about what kind of ADHD you have and what that really means. I've heard some people recently who haven't been diagnosed or haven't really considered getting diagnosed say things like, well, I probably have ADD, but I don't think I have ADHD, or I probably have this or that, that kind of thing. And I didn't realize until I started looking into it myself that there's no longer an ADD diagnosis. There's what used to be ADD is now ADHD inattentive type, and there's ADHD hyperactive type or hyperactive component. I don't know, maybe I just say component, but that's what, it's like there's the hyperactive part or the inattentive part, or there's both. And that's the combined type, inattentive and hyperactive. I am combined. I have it all. Yay! But there are a lot of things that can come with it or that somebody else may have that you don't have, different aspects. There's also a doctor who is a psychiatrist and brain disorder specialist who defines 7 different types of ADHD. When I look at that, I don't see myself in any of those 7, but for some people, they find themselves in one of those and that matches them better, maybe helps them understand themselves better. That's not the medical term, though, it's just his terminology. But in the medical world right now, there's ADHD combined type, ADHD inattentive type, ADHD hyperactive type. In addition to that, there are other things that could be closely related, or I kind of look at them as cousins or something. I guess that's like something that's related. There are other disorders that can piggyback themselves with ADHD, like being obsessive compulsive or having RSD. Have you heard of that? Rejection sensitivity disorder. There are quite a few things that if you start digging and looking, another one, and these are just things that I've looked at and I thought, oh yeah, I tend to get that way. um, some of them are sensitivity to things that are not organized or situations or parts of your house, being very sensitive to needing order. And then there's also the inability to keep order in your life. So there's just different components that can piggyback with ADHD. I asked my psychiatrist when I was first diagnosed about OCD, if that is related to ADHD. He told me there's another disorder called obsessive compulsive personality disorder, OCPD, and that's more commonly associated with ADHD, and the OCD is more, uh, it has more of those obsessive habits. I don't know if you call it a habit, those practices that go with it. So he was explaining that the OCPD would be more the need to have things a certain way. Like, a classic is, seeing a picture on a wall that's tilted wrong. And maybe everyone has a problem with that. Maybe some people go a little more crazy inside, not being able to fix that than someone else. But that's just an example. And then he said that the OCD is more not not just I need to use hand sanitizer, I need to do this, I need to make sure I'm really worried I'm going to get contamination if I touch this or that. It's, the washing your hands 100 times or whatever. So I'm not going to get into all this any deeper than that, but just know that there's a lot of research out there that you can discover what part of your behavior is related to ADHD. And I think that's really important because not because you need to have a name for something, not because you need to have what some people might call an excuse. And if you could see my fingers, they're doing quotes. I've heard of a lot of people saying, that just sounds like an excuse for being this, 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 this. It's actually a reason. It's actually understanding yourself. And what I love about this is once you have this awareness, once you learn more about yourself, what is related to the way your brain developed at birth or neurodevelopmental. So ADHD is a neurodevelopmental disorder, meaning it's not something that developed after you were born. It was something that was developed as you were being formed, as your brain was being formed. And that's important to know because there are tendencies we're going to have, where there are ways that our brain is going to operate or execute. And executive. I guess I said execute because it's like executive dysfunction. So I guess that's related. But there are ways that our brains work. And I found in my life, at different times of my life, some things get better, some things get worse. Some things shift into a new gear depending on what's going on in my life. So who knows why? It could be getting older, it could be situational. I don't know. But it's important to recognize what you're working with because some things you can work with, other things you have to just go, oh my goodness, I can't believe I forgot that. Or, oh my goodness, whatever it is. And maybe you'll laugh like I was when I was setting up here. Because every time I come up here, and this is what, my sixth episode, maybe it's episode 5, there's an intro, so I don't know which is which. But each time I come up here, I haven't done it enough. And I say up here, I'm upstairs in a room making my podcast. Every time I do it, I think, okay, now what am I doing? What am I doing? And some of it I've set myself up for success. Yay. I've streamlined some things to make it easier, but I'm still trying to remember. And it cracks me up when I you know, can't figure it out quite as easily as maybe I will eventually, just little bumbles here and there. So hopefully you're able to distinguish what are things that I could work with and what are things that I cannot. And the things that we can work with, we can work with together, and we no longer have those limits. That's another thing I want to talk about is recognizing your limits or what you think is a limit and it isn't actually a limit. I'm going to call it a fabricated limit. That means you made it up. You made up that limit in your mind. Maybe somebody else told it to you, but in order for you to believe it, you've told that to yourself. You've given yourself that message that this is not going to change, or I'll never be able to do this because of whatever. So, what are some examples? I'll give you an example that doesn't have anything to do with ADHD that I can think of yet, or that I can identify anyway. But I just realized this like yesterday or the day before. And I've got to tell you, even just saying that yesterday or the day before, I know that's not super important for you to know. Like, when did she think about this? Or, like, even at all, you don't need to know, right? But I'm 100% sure this is part of ADHD. We need to make sense of things in our minds. We love to share things, but it's important to have the details down, even if we don't. If we get curious about something, it's hard to move on in that thought. So that's why for me, it's like, was it yesterday or the day before? But I know it doesn't really matter for you. So sorry about that. Those things will happen here or there. Back to what I was thinking about. I was thinking about a friend of ours who went to high school with my husband, married with 3 kids. He's done well professionally every time, ever since we've known him. Once he graduated from college, went off to find a career, he's done very well professionally in his jobs. And I thought about it and I thought he majored in English in college. I don't think he got his master's, but his first job led to a second job, led to whatever, whatever, whatever. And he's done well professionally. I majored in English in college. I left college, went out looking for a job, didn't really know what to look for or whatever. But after a few rejections, or you don't have the experience for that, or you don't have the right major for this or that, I believed I gave myself a fabricated message that since I majored in English, I could never make a lot of money with a job. And even if I went back and became a school teachers don't make a lot of money, but any job that I got, I'd have to, kind of play it right to maybe make some money. But I just have never had a belief in myself that I could go to a company or get a job or find a way to make a lot of money. I've just thought unless I chose a different path, getting a master's degree, going and becoming a doctor, who knows whatever, which I really didn't want to go back to school. I loved college, but I had no desire to continue with higher education. It was just not something I wanted to be locked into again. And now that I look at it through a lens of ADHD, I could see it. The only day of class that I really enjoyed was the first day when they set it up and showed us, here's the syllabus. This is what you're going to do this year. Because at that time, at that point, it looked like a fairy tale. It looked like, oh yeah, this looks lovely. I can do this. It was the only day of the semester that I didn't feel behind, that I didn't feel like I could never keep up. So anyway, I just didn't have a desire to go back after I graduated. But I realized in my kitchen as I thought about this friend, he didn't have that upper limit problem. He never said to himself, I could never have that job. I could never have that job. I could never raise to this point or go up to this point in a career because I'm using my fingers for quotes again, I just majored in English. He never gave himself that message. And I realized my message was not true. I had made it up, I had fabricated it, and I told myself that over and over and over and over and over. And I was kind of blown away by that. I thought I had created this upper limit for myself and didn't see that it could get beyond that. And I thought, I'm done with that. I'm done with that idea. I don't see any limits anymore. Who knows what will happen? I'm giving myself and letting go of that limit. I don't know if you've heard of this book called The Big Leap. The man who wrote its name is Gay Hendricks, and he talks about an upper limit problem that everyone has, even if it's not a money thing, even if it's not an upper limit. I could never have more than this amount of money. I came from this family or this town, or didn't get beyond a high school degree or degree education. And, whatever that limit is, it doesn't have to just be a money limit. It could also be a happiness limit. I'll never be happier than this. I'll never be this. I'll never be that. I'll never be. What message have you given yourself? Have you? I hope you haven't, but I think his point of his book is we all have. So I'll change my question to, where have you given yourself a fabricated message, a message that you made up, a limit that you made up that is completely false? So far, we've proven it true because we believe it. And actually, that is a safe place to be. As long as we believe that, we don't have to try. We don't, we have the reason of well, it's not going to happen. So I'm not going to go and make a fool out of myself by trying to do this. It's a safe place to do, to be. And to be able to remove that limit and see what you are capable of or what is possible is really freeing. And it's what we're really all here to do. It's all what we can do while we're here on earth. And so ponder that a little bit. You probably had some ideas just while I talk about it. And I hope that when I talk to you that that's what you do. That what I talk about makes me think about you, not about me, but about you, how you can relate to this, how this might apply to you in your life. With that, I want you to also see what are some actual limits. Obviously, we all have actual limits, right? We can't fly. We're not birds. We can't this or that. We actually have some limits. And with ADHD, you may have some limits that doesn't mean you're not going to be able to do the same thing that someone else can do, but you may need to do it in a different way, or you may need to be okay with having a different outcome. I can walk across my house like other people do. I can walk from room to room like people do, but often I bump into things, I get bruises, I trip, I whatever. Often, with ADHD can come what I've always just thought of, being klutzy. That's okay. I'm okay with that. That doesn't bother me. It bothers me to be injured or to have to deal with that recovery. But it's something that I've accepted that I don't have that awareness of where I'm walking at all times. I don't have that awareness when I open a cupboard at all times that I'm not going to hit myself in the head with it or that I'm not going to ABCD. And often when I'm thinking about what I'm going to tell you, I think, oh gosh, they're going to think I'm crazy. Who hits themselves in the head with their cupboard or bangs into their hip when they open the fridge. Or one time I didn't clear, like, those automatic doors that kind of slide out of the way as you walk in the door at the store. One time I didn't clear that when I was pregnant. I didn't gauge it. I had a different sized body, but I don't know how I did that. But anyway, yeah, I don't know how I did it because I'm not aware. That's the whole point. I can't have that awareness all the time. And what may sound crazy to some people make a lot of sense to those of us who are that way. I was just talking to a man a few weeks ago and was telling him, I don't know how I had forgotten, I'm probably going to forget this. And he said, how would you forget that? And I thought, because I do, because I do, I just do. These are the things that I know. I have to write that post-it note or send myself an email or set an alarm. I will forget it. I know that. But for him, for me, it was fascinating to watch him be perplexed by that. Because that's not something he's experienced, or I guess he hasn't been around somebody who is that way. But we know our limits. We know what is actual, and we may have some that we think are actual that we've fabricated, and or they're not limits, they're challenges. And they're things that aspects of our ADHD that we can work with, that we can figure out, that we can change things. Well, for an example, tripping or running into things. I've learned over the years that before I go to bed, I clear a path of whatever shoes or, like if my husband puts his shoes somewhere different or something, I clear a path between me and the bathroom because it's going to be dark and I'm going to be tired. I don't want to run into something, it, you know, and if something's there, I will. It's not like, oh, yeah, I remember I put my shoes there. I'm not going to remember that. I may not even remember that when I'm fully awake, 10 minutes later. So, like I've said before, you set yourself up for success. You find a way, and you still might trip if you're somebody like me who often runs into things. But at least you're making it easier for yourself, right? You're making it so you won't have those mishaps. I know that my water bottle needs to be on the bathroom counter if I want to drink water when I get up in the middle of the night. If I have it on my nightstand, I'll forget and I'll knock into it and knock it over. So just little things like that, little insights into my life. Maybe you actually do give yourself very positive messages and you think, I'm capable of everything. I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And you have this belief in yourself. I can do anything that I apply myself to. One of my sons is like this. Actually, two of my sons are like that. They believe they can do anything and they achieve very great things. They work hard at it, they apply themselves, and they get things done. I have a belief in myself, I think, in a lot of things, but the way that I have my dysfunction in my brain gets in the way. That may be you. That may be, I don't have this upper limit problem with what I want to accomplish. I think I can fully do it. It's just that I can't get myself to do it. I can't get past that overwhelm. I can't motivate myself to do something, even though everything inside of me is screaming, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. This is very common with women with ADHD to have ideas, talked about that before, where we have so many ideas and we're creative, we have a drive to do this and a drive to do that. And maybe one is tugging at you more than the other, and that's something you want to do, but you can't get yourself to do it. And it could be that you're all set up for it and you still just can't get yourself to do it. You get distracted, or you waste time, or you have other things to do. So, how are you supposed to fit that in? One thing that I found that I've done, and it took me a while to see the pattern, is, and it's probably a simple way that we could all relate to it, but let's say you want to cook in your kitchen, you want to make something, and you think, I really can't start cooking until the kitchen's clean. I want to bake cookies or bread or make dinner, whatever. I need a clean slate to start with. So that's me. It doesn't mean I always do that, but I think my brain can function better. Maybe it's kind of that getting rid of the clutter aspect that I have a need for in my brain. And so I have a belief of I cannot do this unless I do this first. And it's not actually true, but I can function better that way. And so that's what I often do. I spend the time cleaning the kitchen first, then I'll go in there and cook. And maybe I won't even have the energy to cook by then. I don't know. But that's a simple example. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. Before I do this, I want to do that. Or I really want to work on this. I need the kitchen table for it. I got to clear all that stuff off the kitchen table. So then you may not do whatever you wanted to do on that kitchen table for a long time because you never got cleared off. Something I've done that's kind of a step up from that is tell myself, in order to do that, I need a different space to do it in. So when I first wanted to look at creating my own business, initially it was going to be with yoga, in addition to teaching yoga in public, do some things on my own at home. And I took this in-person course with a lot of other yoga teachers and three experienced yoga businesswomen who were teaching it and sharing with us all these things that they do and the systems they put in place, whether you do it in online or in person, and how to map it out, how to schedule and block off your days, all these things that were really helpful. I mean, I still remember a few of them, but things like, write on your calendar for these 4 hours. It's like you have an appointment with yourself, and don't let anything else take that time away. Otherwise, your days are going to keep slipping away and you won't be able to get it done. So one by one, I would watch all these other women that were taking that course. It was called a yoga teacher collective. And we would go there and we would share the progress we were making. And I was hardly making any progress. And I was doing any of the work that we needed to do, the worksheets and things, like just hours before the next class, because I think, oh, you need to do that. You need to do that. You need to do that. And then I went and did it to the last minute. And then I got to where I was talking to a friend because she was trying to grow her business. And I said, let's get together and maybe we'll work together. And so we did that a few times. And that way it worked. If I met somebody, at a coffee shop or something, we both worked at the same time, I could get myself to do it. I had an obligation. But depending on myself, it wasn't working very well. And so at some point during that course, I told myself the only way I can really focus on this is if I had my own desk. My husband has a desk that he uses for his work when he does work at home, even though he had work at a company too. But if I had my own desk and if I had my own corner, where would I want that to be? Would I want it in this room? Would I be? So I spent all this time figuring out where that desk would be, what the setup would be. I bought the desk, I built the desk, which was easy. It was just from Target, but put it together, found a place for it. I wanted it against this wall, but there wasn't enough sunlight. So I went and bought a mirror to go over the desk to bring in sunlight so it wasn't just looking at the wall. Like I did all this stuff to get myself set up because that was my belief. If I do this, then I will be able to be productive. And I even bought a whole bunch of notebooks. In fact, some of them I'm using now, 5 years later for this podcast, because I bought them at that time to set myself up for what I was doing then. I never, ever used them. I set up the system and I never used it because I couldn't get over the overwhelm. And, but it was really comforting to give myself that belief that if I do that, that's the only thing getting in my way. If I do that, if I buy that desk, if I just get a desk and oh yeah, and if I put up a mirror and yeah, if I had different colored notebooks and this one was for this and I could function. It wasn't true. I bought all that. I set it up. It probably took me a month or so as I watched all these other women working through their goals and progressing. But I'm positive I was the only one in there with ADHD. And now that I'm understanding it, I'm thinking, oh, I beat myself up about it. I thought that it was that organization piece that would help, and it wasn't. It was getting over that, understanding that what overwhelm is, how to work with it, how to get past it. Not easy, but it really does help to do a little more than just set up a desk, but actually set up a flow in your life so you can have that clarity of mind every day to be able to go towards something you want to do. And part of that is, I think, everything that we do that's new and different that we're afraid of or we think we can't work on yet, what I call it is I can't wrap my head around it. I can't figure out, I can't see the whole picture. And if I can't see the whole picture, or if I don't understand how to do it, but I want to do it, I want to learn. And it can take a long time to learn. And it can also be really frustrating because there's a lot of failure, pieces of failure in there. And not everybody has all the time in the world for that. But at the same time, I look at all the time that we waste doing other things. At least I do. So I started realizing day in and day out, even in the past few years, I think, okay, work on this week. But it would always be not today, tomorrow would be better. Not today, tomorrow would be better. And tomorrow would have been better if I actually worked on it the next day. But I didn't. So you might be wondering, what has gotten me over this hurdle? What has gotten me over the hurdle of overwhelm? And it doesn't mean there won't be another emotional overwhelm hurdle for me to climb on a different day. But with this one in particular, there's no way I would be sitting here talking to you if that hurdle were still there, if I didn't learn how to jump over it. And I had to jump quite a few times, but it was really identifying that hurdle because for a long time I thought, okay, all I need is to figure out, like I'll learn from this lady. She's going to help me build a website. I signed up for her course. Did I ever finish the course? No. I got, a few weeks into it, hit a, what do you call it, where your brain can't understand it? Hit a roadblock, a wall. That's what it is, a wall. I hit a wall and couldn't figure it out. And that became a bigger hurdle for me. I had set aside the time. I even set aside a place. It was actually on the floor next to my desk where I liked working on that better. I didn't even sit at my desk, but I had a place. I had a time in the afternoon. I got into the swing of things, but I hit a wall somehow in not understanding things and how one of her steps in building my website would actually take another week to figure out because I didn't know how to do the things that were in half of a sentence that she thought I already knew how to do, if that makes any sense. So design this in Canva. I thought, I don't even know how to use Canva. And then, it's that ping-pongy brain of, okay, I'll go over to Canva and look at that for a while. Oh my gosh, should I sign up for Canva Pro or should I do this? Or I don't know how to use this. Oh, should I do this? And I just, what colors do it just was way too much information and my brain just kept jumping around. And so that went on for about 3 years. And I finally just told myself, go in one direction and one direction only. Whatever is overwhelming to you, you can't do it all at once. You are not capable of doing it all at once. I don't even know if anybody's capable of doing it all at once, but I was hoping to be. And so I told myself to go in one direction and break it down into little parts, break it down into little parts, and be happy with that. Find that hurdle, jump over it. Don't feel like you got to finish the race. You made it over that hurdle, you're one step closer. And there are going to be a lot of things in your life that you're going to have to identify and just figure out, is this something I can jump over? Is this something I could do? Is this something that I've told myself I can't do and I actually can? And if I can, how can I? Because I really want to. Because it's no fun going through life with an idea, a passion, a desire to do something and you can't do it. And you can't do it, or you're not doing it. And you wish you could. But at the same time, you don't wish you could because you don't want to deal with all that goes on in your body when you try to make it happen. It's hard. It's really hard. And I think that's why they call it overwhelm. And it's easier just to open up your computer. Maybe I got a laptop, I got to open it up, but or go on your phone and read about other people's lives or buy something online or get in the car and go somewhere. It's a lot easier. A lot easier. So what I'd like you to do is look at anything that you have wanted to do and haven't been able to do and identify if the limits or the messages in your mind of I can't do that are accurate or not. If they're made up or if they're accurate. And it may be, let's say you have little children. This isn't the right time of my life to do that because I have little ones. But when they're in school, I could use that time to do this. So there may be just one of those, there's a time and a season for everything. And this isn't the season, but I still want to do that later. But just don't let that get away from you because I know that when I was younger, I would tell myself, I'd really love to do this, but I'm too young. It's the older people who are doing that. And then when my children were young, I'd really love to do this, but I've got little ones. I don't think I could do that now. I don't really know how to do that. And then, get older. Well, now I'm too old to do that. I go from being too young to too old, and it's just like, wait, Is that possible? Did I just miss out on my hopes and dreams? Besides having my family, that's another hope and dream for sure. But just look at the things that are your hidden desires. I hope, or I think we all have them, right? This hidden desire. And it usually is attached to either something we really love to do or a gift that we have. A gift that we have. It's something that we have in us that we can do in a way that other people can't. And we know we can, but we just aren't sure how to channel it. Sometimes the words just don't come out right. We don't know how to channel it, or we don't know where to, like, how to build all those systems that will allow that to take place. It's not easy for sure. But look at those messages that you tell yourself. Are they based in truth? And if they are, deal with that. Are they made up? If they are, figure that out. What can you do? Where's the emotional hurdle? Where's the overwhelm coming in? And then be honest with yourself that there are actually more hurdles than you realize. And that's why there's overwhelm. That's why you can't do it, because either those hurdles are way taller or I would think it's just not like a hurdle, like, like someone who's running a relay race or a track or something. It's actually like a mountain. It might be a lot higher to climb, and you really do have to break it down into smaller chunks and figure out if there's a way to do it, because there probably is. It probably is. And at the same time, identifying whatever actually is something that won't be possible for you. Like for me to have awareness of where I walk at all times. I've tried, I've really tried. And I've done some little things like to not drop things as often. I think I might have mentioned this before, but I've learned to have one finger under a bowl or a cup. I say that as I pull my cup up so that if it slips, I actually have a little protection there. I'm holding on to it. I've developed that awareness. High five. There may be some things, there may be some levels of going up a bit with it, more possibilities or less slip ups, but also dealing with our reality, because we do have a different reality than some people do. And some of them are aware of it and some of them aren't. And that's okay. Hopefully that's okay with you. Hopefully that no one's giving you a hard time about it. And hopefully you're able to make peace with what it is. What are the things that won't change either that much or at all? But know that there are so many things that are possible if you recognize the difference, if you recognize the difference and have a high belief in yourself. Because we all know that the messages we give ourselves are often not as supportive as they would be to a friend, to a loved one, to children. We would give such positive, encouraging messages. And to ourselves, we might think, yeah, that's not happening for me because I am, well, blah, 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 blah. I'm not good at this. I wish I could. Da, 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 da. So looking at your possibilities, what messages you give yourself. And, right now you might think, I can't think of anything, or maybe you've thought of a few. But just getting in this mindset right now, maybe tomorrow something will pop up while you walk through your kitchen, like it did for me. And each of those little awarenesses help you see what is possible, what you can do, and that you can get rid of a lot of those limits that you've set up for yourself. Okay, I think that is it for today. I'm so excited I was able to come up and make another episode for you, because last week when I was uploading my episode, I didn't realize that you weren't supposed to use high quality audio. You're supposed to use medium. And so I saw the option for high quality. I thought, yeah, I'm going to choose high quality. I did that. I submitted it to Libsyn, who I use, that sends the podcast out to Spotify, Apple, all these places, YouTube. And it said that I had exceeded my limit for the month. And I thought, oh, darn it, I'm actually paying. I'm not doing the free plan anymore. And so I upgraded to fit it in there and then looked, and I wasn't even halfway through the month. And I'd used most of it. And I thought, oh no, I want to make another episode next week. And I want to make another, so I went back and looked at what I had submitted before, and my files were much smaller. And then I did a little research online and saw that, yeah, I shouldn't have used the higher quality download, but that's okay. So here I am. I'm learning as I go, going over one little hurdle at a time. But thanks so much for being here. I hope that you can take a look at yourself, understand yourself a little bit better, and stay in touch. I'm working every day to get my website better equipped to give you some free things and some things that can help you understand your ADHD. It's reneeallen.com, but it has a hyphen in between Renee and Allen. So Renee slash, I call it a slash, it is hyphen, Renee slash Allen.com. Go there if you want to see what I'm offering, and hopefully I'll get that up this weekend. I've got 2 freebies that I'm planning on. One is a favorite things quiz, which I need to make another episode about that and why I'm making it, but I think it's fun and I think you'll like it, and it has a purpose besides like, oh, what's your favorite color? It's not just that. There's a purpose to it that can help us. And the other is an ADHD self-assessment for women. And I'm still building that one. That one might take a little bit longer, might take another week. And I know I said there were 2. Those are 2 that I'm writing. And I also made a free lie down and let go yoga class that you can click on and go take. It's basically just how to quiet the mind, how to relax your body at the end of the day. It was going to be 10-minute, and I had to change the description to 20 minutes because I wanted to do a couple things, and it's not hard. It's not going to be, if you don't have any yoga experience or if you're not flexible, no worries. It is actually just to help you kind of reset and have more clarity in mind. So that's that. But after I finished it, I thought I really do want to make a 10-minute option too, so that you can have something that's quicker. But that's already on the website. You can find that up at the top, I think, of the yoga page. And then you can see all the other little goals I have, things I have set up to make, but I haven't made them all yet. So I'm an open book. I think you've probably realized that by now. But anyway, thanks so much for being here. I'm so glad to know you're out there somewhere. Be in touch if you want. I have a contact form on the website. You could say hello, let me know who you are or how you're doing. And I guess that's it for now. Take care. Bye.
The silence of sound has yet been found, but not by me. I buttered my toast, spread on some grape jelly. I don't mean to boast, but I'm a chef and a good one. My grandma can't hear me. The breakfast is done. Ever getting colder, ever older, so I run. Open windows, broken shadows. Frozen dreams are left for tomorrow. Without a cause, no time for a pause. The silence of sound has yet been found, but not by me.